Welcome into the Bullpen here on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5, broadcasting live from inside ESPN Bet at LaBerge in Lake Charles. Joe George, Sean Mapes, Cam Smith here with you this Sunday morning from 10 to noon, hanging out on Twitch, on YouTube. We're not there. You can't see us, but we're there. So if you want to hang out in the chatter or shoot us a text at 713-780-3776. We'll talk Texans kind of a little bit today. We'll talk NFL. We'll rip it up at the end of the show. All of our bad tickets.
Yes.
We'll have to do that today. Our newest tradition.
We got plenty of those.
Yeah, we got
plenty of those.
Yeah, we got plenty of tickets to rip up in this one because, well, it was a tough one, to be honest, for some of us. I got a big hit last night at the very end of the night, so that was nice at least. But we'll start off with the Texans today. So, and kind of big picture within the NFL, like since they're not playing today, it's so strange that they're not playing today. Still, like not calibrated for Monday Night Football.
Yeah,
is like the only thing that like it's what are we supposed to talk about tomorrow? Another day of preview. I feel like it's just like Monday's reaction Monday.
Yeah, and
it's not.
I feel like we've been talking about this game for so long.
Oh my gosh, I know. I feel like we've been talking about this game for like 2 weeks. Imagine if you had like a Monday Night Football game after a bye. That'd be tough. But where do we see the Texans right now, big picture, and NFL Super Bowl contenders? So right now, like the top is obviously the Kansas City Chiefs are number one. They're undefeated. Who's the number two team for you guys in terms of Super Bowl contenders? Is it because the Chiefs are in the AFC? Do you look to an NFC team? Do you look at Buffalo or Baltimore? Like who's like your next team right now in terms of like who you would pick to win the Super Bowl after the Chiefs? Unless you don't have the Chiefs number one.
Well,
the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs kind of have to be number one, or if you're not counting the Chargers, they have to be number one just because they've done it before. They're undefeated, so they have a lot going for them in that way. But if we're just talking about who's like actually played the best or played the most impressive, it is the team that they're playing today. It is the Buffalo Bills or the Baltimore Ravens, at least in the AFC. In the AFC, I think it's those three. And if you don't want to just give it to the Chiefs based on the 2022 and the 2023 season and the 2019 season and every other season, if you don't want to give it based off that, I think you have to look at what Buffalo's doing, especially as of late. Now they are just crushing like bad teams, so the strength of schedule isn't quite what you want, but you see it a lot where good teams do just like blow out bad teams, and that's what they're doing.
100%.
Teams that are average, they don't blow out those teams. They get into a
Texans.
Yeah, they get into a 3.7-point game with a team they have no business being in that game with. So I think I would go with Buffalo right now, especially with how Josh Allen has been playing and just taking care of the ball a little bit more, or actually way more than in the past, but just at the kind of right level, I feel like.
Yeah, so Buffalo and then Baltimore, I'm assuming is your next team. So it's interesting. So Cam, from like your perspective, do you agree with that top three?
I do, but
for the AFC, because like I'd probably put the Lions second.
You almost like have to because it's just an NFC team.
Yeah, just theoretically, like the top three teams in the AFC, they can't all make the AFC Championship game. So one of them, by definition, is gonna be less of a contender than the Lions.
I mean, the thing is, I agree with all those three, but
different order.
Well, no, not even that. It's just like I need to see more from Buffalo and Baltimore in the playoffs. Like every year, they have a really good in-season record and make the playoffs, and then they poop the bed.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, okay, sure, going into the playoffs, I'm going to obviously pick Chiefs, Bills, and Ravens as the top three, but it's just like, do I have any faith in those other two, Buffalo and Baltimore?
To actually get
Not
it done?
Not really. Yeah. Like, I need to see more from them. And I hate that the Chiefs are just still there every year. But until they give me a reason to not believe in them, then I'm going to have to go with the Chiefs, which sucks for me.
Yeah. No, I do think that like this is the year where, with the way Buffalo and Baltimore are playing and the way Detroit's playing, it does feel the last 3 years this is like the best chance, because even in last year, like it felt like it was the Chiefs and the 49ers. This year, it feels totally different. And, the Lions get a little bit – they get the for them, they should be number 2. Also, like when you think about what Cam said, like the playoff success, they won 2 playoff games last year. They won their first one versus the Rams by a point. They won the next week versus Tampa by 8, and then they only lost by a field goal to the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're better this year. But I think we are probably also a little inherently biased after seeing Goff throw 5 picks last week. Like it's kind of hard to wrap your mind around that being like the number 2 team.
Yeah.
When like that's what your quarterback can do. Like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, CJ Stroud, like they would never do that. Like they'll throw bad picks. Like we saw CJ throw awful picks in that game.
Yeah.
But like
they're not going to give you
they're not going to give you 4 or 5.
Yeah. And a drop by Stingley could have been 6. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I was talking about how you trust the Bills. At least like this year they've been more impressive than Chiefs. Literally as we're talking, Sunday NFL Countdown has just been playing all of the playoff and regular season matchups between the Chiefs and Bills, and now I'm like, oh yeah, the Chiefs are definitely going to win this. Like they're showing the 13-second comeback. I was like, no one's beating this team. So yeah, I get why the Chiefs get that kind of respect, that kind of inherent like sim to Super Bowl with them, but I do think it is. This year is the closest I feel like it's been of on the field how they're playing.
Yeah, I just think Baltimore and Buffalo, like, and what I think what's important about Buffalo is that they've played this well, but Amari Cooper's been hurt.
Yeah,
since they got him, like he hasn't really
played what 2 games.
Yeah, and I think he's back tonight. He's back in today's game. I think he's playing. So like, even then, it's like, well, at least like, and they're getting him back. So like, what can they do? I think what the last year the OC change, and this goes back to the Texans, like the OC change, like it worked so well for them. I think that's the biggest reason why people have an argument that Bobby Slowick should be fired, because it's just worked so well for Buffalo, just fundamentally changing what they did, just the process of it with the same exact roster they had last year. And this year they lose Diggs, they replace him now with Amari Cooper, but like you're seeing like Khalil Shakir and these guys step up in a huge way. Where do you guys think the Texans are right now in terms of odds at ESPN Bet? Like I think they're first Super Bowl.
There were.
I think they're the what team do you think they are?
7. Final answer.
For AFC, NFC, obviously.
Yeah. Total Super Bowl odds.
I'm gonna go 8th now.
They are 8th.
Wow.
So right now it's
sniped.
So right now it's Chiefs plus 375, Lions plus 425 are the top 2.
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore's plus 550, Buffalo plus 750. The Eagles, who the way they're playing, I feel like we have to start putting them back in this conversation.
Yes.
They're playing so well. They're at plus 850. The Niners plus 1,000. And then there's a jump, a big jump.
Oh, really?
The next 2 teams, you know what, Sean, technically you're right as well. Because the Texans are technically 7th. They're tied for 7th.
There we go.
So, well, they're just the 8th team on the list. So when
it's alphabetical.
So when I was just counting, I had them at 8, but then I look at the odds here again, and I'm like, wait, they're tied.
Okay.
The Packers and the Texans are plus 2,200. They're the next 2 teams. So clearly, like ESPN Bet, and like my guess is this is wherever you were shopping at a book, like they're going to be pretty similar. Like there's 7 teams who are clearly at the top, and then there's a huge jump. I mean, the Vikings are plus 2,500. The Steelers are plus 2,500. So they're essentially saying like the Texans and the Steelers are on the same level, which I would probably agree with, honestly.
Are we surprised that the Niners are in there too?
I'm
a little surprised.
I think they're getting the benefit of the doubt. Like that feels like one for me where like the books are protecting themselves. I think we'll have to ask Matt about that when he comes on with us at 11, because it just feels like to me like they're protecting themselves in case like now that with McCaffrey back, if they really just like get rolling and like you don't want to have them plus 2,000 and all of a sudden they look like the best team in the NFC again very clearly, like they get crushed.
Yeah, that is fair with McCaffrey coming back and what he can do for that offense if he is healthy and stays healthy, which it is a question. I think part of the game last week against Tampa, I think you could see like in the course of the game him knocking off the rust a little bit, where he started off looking pretty like it's his first game playing, like maybe he doesn't fully trust his legs, and then he kind of got his legs underneath him and did all right. So yeah, I guess if you if you take into account McCaffrey and you're just penciling him in for the rest of the season, and like you said, protecting yourself. I get it like that, but as far as like how they've actually played, like the Texans are definitely going to win their division. I don't know if the Niners are going to win their division.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's definitely So the Texans are plus 1,200 to win the AFC itself. So I mean they've got it down pretty far. We're curious what the AFC South odds are here. You know what's so funny? Plus 2,200 to win the Super Bowl for the Texans. Minus 2,000 to win the AFC South.
That tells you everything you need to
Like,
know about
the AFC South. Yep.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, I didn't think it was gonna be that drastic when I hit that. Like, hell, I'm almost tempted to put $10 on the Colts plus 1,400. Like,
The AFC South is the only division where all 4 teams are negative in the point differential.
yeah, I mean, and
Like,
that's why
that's bad.
and that's why people don't take the
That
Texans
is
seriously. They're the only playoff team right now with a negative point differential. So, I mean, it's hard to think of them as a real contender when you're a minus 3,000 to make the playoffs, a minus 2,000 to win your division, but then you're plus 2,200 to win the Super Bowl. It's just you're not a Super Bowl contender.
No.
You're just not yet. And is there any chance and when we get back, we'll talk about the injury updates for the Texans. They've officially ruled out one of their best players and officially getting back one of their best players. And the Cowboys had a little bit of a surprise added to the injury report for Monday Night Football. It won't affect them. It doesn't look like, but it's something to keep an eye on. We'll get into that next year. It is the Bullpen, broadcasting live from inside ESPN Bet at LaBerge in Lake Charles.
The Bullpen live from LaBerge Casino Resort continues. Now back to the mobile Veritex Community Bank Studios with Joe George, Brian McDonald, and Sean Mapes.
Joe, Sean, and Cam broadcasting live from inside ESPN Bet at LaBerge in Lake Charles. All right, let's get you updated here on what's going on for the Houston Texans for Monday Night Football. Guys officially out this week. Foley, Fatukasi will be out. Blake Fisher will be out. Not that that one matters. Also, Will Anderson out officially for Monday Night Football. Texans announced that yesterday. Everyone else is playing. The only questionables right now, besides that, Kamar Lassiter did practice. He was limited on Saturday, so he's listed as questionable for Monday Night Football. So it is possible. I guess he clears concussion protocol in 8 days and is back for the game. Jeff Okuda, also questionable. But he was a full participant on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so that kind of feels like.
So he's just questionable in general?
I guess so.
Is that what
yeah, like,
Hasn't he been out all year?
Yeah, he hasn't played yet.
Okay, well.
So
questionable.
Yeah.
So I guess he's well. I don't know.
Questionable play too.
It's questionable if he starts.
Yeah.
I have some questions.
But so hopefully Kamar Lassiter's out there. That's definitely. I mean, it just makes it so much easier for your defense. He's out there, but you're missing Foley. You're missing Will Anderson. But they did say no designation for Nico Collins, meaning he is officially back for the Houston Texans in this game. I know you guys kind of hit on this a little bit last week because we were kind of anticipating the return of Nico Collins last Sunday because it just felt like when he came back to practice on Friday last week, why would he return to practice if he's not going to play on Sunday? It was even stranger. I thought that they were like, yeah, he's 100%. They just decided not to play him. I guess they just wanted to wait to be safe, which does make sense logically. But how much does Nico Collins really fix all your problems? Does he fix some of them, most of them? Where are you guys at with Nico's return?
So I don't think he fixes your problems, but what he does is make the margin for error for your problems much higher. Where, like, yes, he's not going to start at right guard or left guard. Like, that's not what he does. So he's not going to actually fix that problem. But what he does is he gives Stroud a deep option, B, an option that he trusts in scramble drill, which if your offensive line is still going to struggle as much as it has as of late, you're going to be in scramble drill a lot. So I think that's really the most that you get out of Nico Collins is what he does down the field and off script, or when Stroud has to play off script.
Yeah. I mean, because to me, the problem is still the offensive line, and Nico cannot fix that, and he never will be able to fix the offensive line. But I feel like that he's a good kind of like, what's the saying? Like fixing, like he's a piece of tape. Like he's able to kind of put things back together a little bit for Stroud. And I mean, he was the Texans were 4-1 with CJ.
He's Flex Seal.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Putting on the bottom of the screen door boat.
I think that he's going to make him coming back. I think is going to make Stroud feel a little better about being in the pocket because he does have that phenomenal weapon with Nico. So obviously it's a benefit for him coming back. But again, like I said, he can't fix that offensive line. So, but again, Dallas doesn't really. They don't really scare me with the defensive line like they have in years past. So I think that they could win even without Nico this week.
Yeah, I think the benefit of Nico's return, I think what's the most important to watch for is what we've seen the last 2 weeks. I think with Tank Dell was much improved, obviously, than what it was. You know, he just slow start to the year. I mean, like he's coming off injury. He got shot this offseason. So he did not start the season fast. But if that connection with Tank can kind of return to form, like we saw the last 2 weeks, now plus the return of Nico Collins, and if you can get just the run game going again after last week's debacle, we're just mixing at one point you had like 34 yards on 20 carries, like you just couldn't go anywhere. That's where even with the offensive line's problems, things should be much better for this offense. I mean, the one thing that everyone's kind of bringing it up, like I think it's like more like tongue in cheek about the running game last week when how bad it was, like Kenyon Green, being out. But like, there's no way a guy who's that bad at pass blocking is the only reason why your run game was also that good. Like I just can't. I can't justify.
Yeah, I don't think it's all that. I think we also are or the people that are making that case, it's also kind of it's discrediting the Lions a little bit in that equation where the Lions are also they also are playing a part in this.
Yes.
They're the best team that you played all year. So you probably are going to struggle a little bit more running the ball. But yeah, I think especially with a lot of times it's Mixon kind of creating something. Even with Kenyon Green in the lineup, it was Mixon forcing missed tackles, always falling forward, that kind of stuff. Where when you're playing the Lions, like a lot of times the first guy that gets to the ball carrier, he's bringing down the ball carrier. So, and that's what makes them a really good team. So I think I'm not quite ready to give Kenyon Green the credit as being the greatest run blocker of all time, who can single-handedly tank Joe Mixon's season when he leaves the game. So I'm not quite there. I get what they're saying because he is a better run blocker than he is a pass protector. Not hard to do, but
low bar.
I don't know if he's quite like awesome at run. So awesome that he's the like Jenga piece that makes the tower fall down.
Yeah. So I really just don't. Yeah, I can't believe that. So I mean, look, they should run the ball better in this game. Dallas, they're an okay defense. I mean, Mike Zimmer really hasn't gotten them. I still can't believe like that's the hire they made for the Cowboys. Just such a strange decision for Mike McCarthy, like knowing he's on the hot seat. You're like, yeah, Mike Zimmer is the guy.
Yeah,
I want to identify.
Give me
with.
Zimmer.
Yeah, maybe it was like I know he's a worse head coach than me, so like they're not going to replace me mid-season with Mike Zimmer. It would be like a very funny thought process of why that's the hire you make. The other big injury to keep an eye on, look, and it popped up yesterday during 7-on-7 for the Cowboys. They've already come out and said they don't expect it to be an issue. Mike McCarthy did, but CeeDee Lamb did appear on the injury report. He is questionable for Monday Night Football. Obviously, if something like that were to happen, the expectations for this game grow even more for the Texans of just like winning by 30 if CeeDee Lamb weren't out there. But just something to keep an eye on in this game. Is the line still 8? I think it is.
It's 7 on the ESPN Bet sheet of paper in front of me from yesterday afternoon. So it might have moved this.
Do we see Dalton Schultz have his breakout game against the Cowboys?
I mean,
revenge game.
I do think that's like the one player who, even when Nico got hurt, like last year when Tank got hurt, we saw that's when Schultz started playing his best football, and then that just really hasn't happened. And there was this weird. We don't need the audio for it, but like there was this clip I think it was from Thursday when CJ was talking, and he just like randomly brought up this like conversation that him and Dalton Schultz had about like the offense and just like what's been going on. So clearly like there's been some kind of disconnect with Schultz and CJ this year. It'd be nice if he did. Like, I don't know, when we do our prize picks underdogs of the day, like maybe we have to look at Dalton Schultz props, a little revenge game.
Yeah,
for Dalton Schultz.
I think there's a lot of excitement around the tight ends this year with Schultz and Stover, and they haven't been there. So it's just kind of like when are we going to see them bust out? And so I would hope Dalton Schultz would do it this game, but I don't know.
Cade Stover has a little bit of Laramie tonsillitis, where a lot of times when I hear him having his name called on a Sunday, it's because he committed a false start or a hold on a run play.
Yeah,
I feel like he has an inordinate amount of like plays made versus penalties accounted for. I don't know if he's on the right side of that one.
Yeah, no, he seems like he's like a once or twice a game, definitely once a game every single week. A little dump off option for CJ,
like in the flat 3 yards.
Yeah, like it seems like there's like a clear intent to like kind of get him the ball every game in some capacity, but not in a way that is like exciting
down the field.
Down the field.
Well, he literally averages 1 catch a game. So
yeah.
Is it 1 catch 4 yards per game?
No, it's literally a catch a game for 9 yards.
Oh, nice.
Hey, I would have taken the under if you would have said the number like 6.5. Like average, like receiving yards a game, I would take him the under.
How many of those yards were in the Patriots game?
Well, honestly,
he probably had like one play, right?
The average would be what y'all are thinking, except for he did have a 27-yard catch. So you take that away, and he's averaging that 1 per 4.
Yeah, that's a funny one. Like that's always like with the draft stuff. Like when they took Stover, they're like, "Oh, CJ Stroud reunited with Cade Stover." I'm like, "God, relax." Like
I honestly was a little bit like that. It was like, oh, there's gonna be a little connection there. And no, Stover was third or
I don't
fourth.
remember. But I mean, he was. Look, this is a guy who still only played like 25 games in his career
in college
as a tight end. I think if you
Oh yeah,
college,
because he started at D tackle or no D end. I think.
yeah, it was a 4th round pick. So yeah, it's just not like for the long term. I liked the pick, but when people, that's where just like you can tell people are always like gassing up Texans picks, like just like fans when it happens. Even though we all hated the Kamari Lassiter pick, and he's been good. That's mostly just because on this station, because Lance called him so slow. Well, and he had a slow 40 time. Like, but you look at his numbers in college at Georgia, like he's locked down, and then what's is that his nickname? The locksmith.
That's what he
well,
says.
and people were like, "Oh no, that was Kalen." When they were like, "Oh, his legs are so thin. What is he going to do in the the NFL?"
Oh yeah. It's
it is funny. The guys we have the most questions about, like they have an interception every week, and the guys that we threw a parade for, it's like, don't really love this.
Yeah, that's where that's number one off season thing the Texans need to do is like Nick Casario needs to look in the mirror and be like, hey, I'm not great at evaluating the offensive line. I need to hire an assistant GM that's going to help me get offensive line.
I just need to hire Bill Callahan to stop working for his son and come over here and just point at good offensive linemen.
Yeah,
for me.
like this guy good, this guy bad. Honestly, I always thought there was a chance they bring back, or they should bring back Scarnecchia from the Patriots. Just hire him as like a consultant.
Yeah, consultant.
Like, hey, we don't need you to coach the O-line. You're like 80 years old. Like, is this guy good?
Just like, do you see it?
Yeah.
With this guy?
Check boxes. Yes, no. Like a high school dating note you would pass to a girl.
Yeah.
Do you like me? Check yes or no. Like, that's what he needs to do for the
Bring
Texans.
back Dwayne Brown as like a little offensive line consultant, like Gerard Johnson is with the quarterbacks.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to hit the brakes on this because what we're creating is the Jeff Bagwell, Reggie Jackson.
Oh, hold up now.
Craig Biggio. What is it? Skull and Crossbones.
Yeah.
Consultant that's running the Astros. Well, I think we did just bring it to the Texans for offensive line.
No, the Texans already had that with Jack Easterby. We don't need another one of those in our life. I'm dealing with that in Chicago right now. A person who's running an organization that has no business and it's ruining my life. So
who is it?
There's this guy named Trace Armstrong.
Oh.
He played for the Bears. He was on the Super Bowl team. He's an agent. He has the ear of the owner. This is who he represents.
DJ Moore?
No. Ryan Poles.
Oh,
Matty Eberflus. Shane Waldron.
Oh my god!
So there's this former Bears player who's a coach agent, and he's literally just like, "Hey, hire all my clients. It's going super well for them. It's going super duper well."
Who else is their client?
Honestly,
Ben
at this
Johnson?
point, I don't think so. At this point, I'm just assuming when we get to the offseason, I'm just gonna find who's on his roster of coaches and be like, those are the Bears candidates.
Oh my God, John Fox.
Wouldn't have shocked me if he was when he was the Bears coach. All right, when we get back, Matt Holland's going to join us at 10:45 today here from the Sportsbook. One of the assistant Sportsbook managers kind of previewing what's going on in the NFL. We'll talk about those 49ers, that line there for them plus 1,000 to win the Super Bowl. But we'll preview some of the best games going on this weekend. A lot of really good action. We'll do that next year. ESPN Bet on the Bullpen here, broadcasting live from inside LaBerge in Lake Charles.
You're listening to The Bullpen, live from the mobile Veritex Community Bank Studios located at La Berge Casino Resort in Lake Charles. Here's Joe George, Brian McDonald, and Sean Mapes.
Back here on the Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5, broadcasting live from inside ESPN Bet at La Berge in Lake Charles. Your go-to destination when you leave Texas to bet on your Texas teams. It's kind of nice to be able to, I'm not using it currently, but to be able to look at a gambling website and actually place wagers on it since we're in Louisiana, since Texas will never get its act together.
Yeah.
Didn't see that in the Astrodome proposal.
No,
No.
didn't see sports betting.
Remember, once upon a time they talked about it. That was like an idea for the Astrodome. It was like turn it into a giant
Casino.
But like they have to legalize so much that they have to because you can't even have like table games. I don't think in Texas. So which is why people come here or go to Oklahoma and things like that. If you live in Dallas or whatever,
Or gas stations in the hood.
you know what? I don't understand that how it's like not legal, but then like gas stations have slot machines. I don't understand.
That is a good point.
Like I just don't understand like the legality of that, like how it's allowed.
You know what, Joe? Neither do I.
Like,
I don't understand the legality.
I just don't get it. Like it's like why can't I have a casino if like in gas stations there's and like you see and it's not like they're hiding it.
Nope. They're like right up front by the window.
Yeah,
too.
they're in the window.
Yeah, like they're not like hiding it from like the cops and be like some like backdoor operation. Like no, they're just like they're right there. Those are the people that I have the most also questions about in my life. Like you go into a gas station, there's just some like old lady just like sitting there at a slot machine at a gas station. Like, what do you like?
That should just be the commercial for gambling addiction.
Yes,
just be.
Yes, like that's like 101.
A
Like
30-second commercial of just her hitting that button.
Yeah, like when everyone does like gambling problem and they throw the number out, just show an old lady at a gas station like a slot machine and like
Seriously?
that's like the definition of it. All right, so looking at the games this weekend, big one obviously here at noon. Baltimore, Pittsburgh. Baltimore is a 3-point favorite in this one, minus 120 on that. Pittsburgh's +3, even money on that. This is obviously one of the more intriguing games, I would say, just because, like we talk about, like what Cam was saying earlier, like Lamar Jackson's playoff success, part of it is also his failures and his lack of successes against the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's not been very good at them in his career, and like before the playoffs get here, when I think about the Ravens as Super Bowl contenders, I actually think that's why like this game does matter for me in terms of just like Baltimore long term. If they win this game handily, it kind of proves to me that like they're figuring something out. So I took Baltimore. I think when we did our pick six, Sean,
I took Pittsburgh.
You took Pittsburgh, so we're against each other. I need to see how we
Grudge
did
match.
yesterday.
I won the Texas game.
I know you won the Texas game. I did not win the Texas game.
The only one I know. Oh wait, we did the Georgia Tennessee. I think we all picked Tennessee.
So we all lost.
Yes. That sounds right.
Yep, we all lost. So I'm 0-2 to start the week in our pick six. Not a hot start.
Still 4 games left.
Still 4 games left. But so I do think Baltimore's going to win this game just because of what Derrick Henry's brought to them. I mean, he's got a rushing touchdown every single game this season. He has just been an incredible signing. Like he and Joe Mixon and Saquon Barkley, and I think in a little bit to DeAndre Swift at times as well. It's kind of shown like this last offseason that the running back is valuable. Especially like I saw the one tweet that went super viral was like this shows like you should pay a running back instead of a third wide receiver on a team. Like
that now got like Saquon Barkley gets like third wide receiver money, and it's like maybe you should just sign the best running back in the league.
Yeah.
Instead of Chris Boyd or not Chris Boyd, Tyler Boyd.
Oh yeah, Tyler Boyd. Yeah. Oh yeah, because that's what the Titans did.
Yeah.
Sure did.
Honestly, I mean, but it's funny then because like Tony Pollard's been like pretty solid for them too.
I was gonna say who's been better, Tony Pollard or Tyler Boyd?
Yeah, so like they could have spent that money elsewhere then actually, but like and because they didn't really have to pay Tony Pollard, like that. He was the cheapest of all those.
It just makes it more hilarious that Dallas did not go after Derek, and then that Jerry Jones quote where he was like, "Oh, with our finances and stuff, it wouldn't be a good fit." Really, because Baltimore got him for what? $8 million or something like that.
He talks about Derrick Henry like Derrick Henry got a $20 million a year contract.
Yeah.
Like they talk about Derrick Henry like he is the most expensive player in the NFL to justify not signing him. It's
so they can trot out Rico Dowdle and Zeke Elliott, the fossil Zeke Elliott.
Like who got suspended from a game because he didn't show up to practice or whatever. Like
that happens
at like 30 years old. Grow up, dude.
Yeah, he's still learning.
Yeah, I love how this
We
week,
talking
like,
about practice?
I
Yeah,
think like
right.
Shefty tweeted like official Rico Dowdle, #1 running back exclusively in Dallas. I'm like, who cares? Like, who
That is
cares?
such a bad thing.
Yeah, like
That you're reporting as good news.
when like 3 games in the season, we're all like, they're taking Ashton Genty in the first round, and they should have signed Derrick Henry. Like the offseason moves you made are very bad.
Yes. The fact that you're going to be available to pick Ashton Genty, you're going to be high enough. To where
Yeah.
we're not asking. Well, maybe someone picks him. Nope, no one's going to be ahead of you, or no one's going to pick him ahead of you. Like,
Yeah, and then the other thing with the game today is like, and this is just an inherent bias that last year's part of it, the end of Seattle. I still don't believe in Russell Wilson.
really,
Yeah,
I think that's fair.
I just
I
like,
think it's fair not to be all aboard the Russ hype train. But he has played well, and part of the reason I did take the Steelers, not just at home and Tomlin Magic and their underdogs, but it's also that Ravens pass defense that we saw under the bright lights against Cincinnati, where that to me that is more of a question mark about their long-term future than Lamar Jackson is, or their long-term like in the playoffs future than Lamar Jackson's, because any good quarterback should light that Ravens defense on fire.
Yeah.
And so if that's what you're walking into a game with, and if Russell Wilson has played the way he has so far, he should be able to move the ball and throw, especially deep down the field, because that's what the Ravens struggle with, and that's what Russell Wilson is good at. So I expect him and Pickens to have a big game.
other good game this weekend, obviously Sunday Night Football. Chiefs Bills is a very good one. Or no, 325 Chiefs Bills. Chiefs are favored by 2 in this one. This is another one where it's like what we just talked about with Lamar Jackson stuff. Like, but Buffalo actually has success against Kansas City.
Yeah, they just lose
in the
in
regular
like
season.
more heartbreaking ways.
Yeah, in the postseason. Like,
Yeah, the Ravens, they show up and they look awful against the Chiefs in the playoffs. The Bills look awesome against them and still just lose every time.
yeah, I think it's Patrick Mahomes. Like, you like plus 2. Like, it's even though it's like that's such a small margin.
Yeah,
It's like just take the money line, which essentially is like they're plus 108 on the money line. So it's like if I was going to bet this game, like I would just money line this thing, because you're basically saying like Buffalo's going to win by 1 if you're picking them to cover the spread. Like that's such a small margin. Obviously, like it just seems crazy to do that. But a smaller one is Sunday Night Football. Cam,
Heyo,
your Chargers,
that's right.
1-point favorites against the Bengals.
playoff implications on the line.
It for me, yeah, it does
And
look
for,
that way.
and for them too.
7-3 if we get this one.
How do you feel about the Harbaugh life so far?
It's amazing. But as great as I feel about Harbaugh, I'm more excited about the mentor hiring, because the fact that I think there's something out there I think they already did it. The Chargers are like the first team in the last like 30 years to allow less than like 13 points or 13 and below points in their first like 8 or 9 games of the season. Which is crazy, because you would think that with their struggles early on in the year to kind of move the ball. I know that JK was able to run it the first couple of games, but Herbert obviously wasn't throwing it all over the field. So you'd think that teams would be able to put up points on them, and they still haven't. So,
Dude, I didn't realize that they haven't given up. The most points they've given up in a game this season is 17 points.
yeah.
That's crazy. Like to be at this point in the season still and have that low of a number your entire to not have a 2
Yeah.
in front of a score for your opponent.
Well,
opponent
and
team.
that's
3 touchdowns.
That
Hasn't
goes
happened.
to like showing how much Harbaugh can turn teams around, because the prior 3 years with Staley, and Staley was supposed to be a defensive guru. Chargers defense was always ranked 27th or last, and now Harbaugh comes in his first year, and the Chargers are by far the number 1 like defense. So
Yeah.
that Harbaugh hire was, oof, man, that was that was a good one.
It really shows just, and it's a little bit, it's different. But it's a little bit like going from Steven Silas to Ime Udoka for the Rockets.
Yeah.
And you just see like, oh, this is what like a competent coach can do for a team. Like when your coach is no longer an active hindrance on your players' development,
especially
turn
after
into a pretty good team.
After you lose arguably your top 3 offensive weapons, and your best receiver is Ladidi McConkey or Ladede McConkey. Like, it's all coaching.
Quinn Johnson's been all right.
Dude,
all right?
that's like the surprise of the season right now is that he's not a full bust.
Yeah, Jim Harbaugh should win Coach of
QJ?
the Year because
Yeah.
QJ hasn't been cut.
When you know how much I was trashing QJ last year
he
and
couldn't
the start of
catch.
this
It was
year,
vicious.
yeah, and
Um,
it was vicious.
All right, before we take a break here, I'm just going to drop this on you guys, just as a little, because we talked about the disaster for Netflix on Friday night,
Yes.
all the buffering issues. Maybe it won't be as much of an issue for the NFL. So last year, on ESPN and Fox, the Christmas Day games got 29 million views and 27.1 million views.
God,
How many people do you think watched Tyson Paul?
I'm guessing more.
Way more.
Okay, more.
46 million.
65 million people
65
Oh
million
my
people
God.
watched
watched that.
Tyson Paul. I can only 65 million people watch that
Oh my
disaster.
God.
But the thing is it
Or
might
tried
even
to
be
watch.
more because with Netflix not being able to share your accounts anymore. Like, are they just tracking household
They're probably just like one at a time, because you have and you have it like two places, right? Kind of like
I think two
Yeah.
places.
so but it's not like how it used to be where Netflix you could have it in
Like seven.
seven.
yeah, but it's
That's
like if
awesome.
you the bar I was at, there was 10 screens with Netflix on, but there was 80 people in there. So are they just counting?
Well, no,
The
so
bar,
bars
they do
bars
it
by
differently.
seat.
Yeah.
Okay, so
They
yeah,
basically
okay,
divide it.
Yeah,
I got you.
So that's bars in home. That's crazy. That's double what the NFL was doing. All right, we'll take a time out here. Matt Holland will join us next here from the Sportsbook, one of the managers. We'll take a look at some of the action today in the NFL, and we'll kind of bring up that Super Bowl odds there for the 49ers, get his thoughts on that next year. It is the Bullpen broadcasting live from inside ESPN Bet at LaBerge in Lake Charles.
The Bullpen live from LaBerge Casino Resort continues. Now back to the mobile Veritex Community Bank Studios with Joe George, Brian McDonald, and Sean Mapes.
The Bullpen broadcasting live from inside ESPN Bet at LaBerge in Lake Charles. Joe George, Sean Mapes here with you, and joined now by Matt Holland, one of the sportsbook managers here inside ESPN Bet. What's up, man? How you doing?
Another beautiful Sunday.
We'll start with your Bengals tonight.
Do we have to?
I mean, I feel like you're still in a good spot.
I'm glad somebody does.
I mean, the offense is really good.
They are.
They really are. Yeah.
It's just whenever somebody decides to throw the ball against us, we have nothing.
Yeah,
I think that we
happens.
spent every last little bit of energy that we had trying to win that Chiefs game and making like Mahomes look human, and then we just it's been downhill ever since.
Yeah, and then you lose by a point to the Ravens, and
I got to bring that up. I
mean-
thought we had such a good
okay.
conversation, and then now you're just bringing up all pain. and misery.
let me make it better. One of my favorite players in the NFL right now is your new running back. I love Chase Brown.
He's good.
I loved him at Illinois. Like, he was a fun player to watch, and
So, let's have a conundrum since this is ESPN Radio Houston. Who would you rather have, him or Joe Mixon?
financially, Chase Brown.
Oh, well, okay, financially, but for performance-wise, man, Mixon's been good, and I miss him so much.
Mixon's been,
Yeah, he's been
Mixon's
so
awesome.
good, but like Chase Brown's really good out of the backfield catching the
Yeah.
ball. So like, and Mixon, I guess they just don't use him that way. And I know Cincinnati didn't really use him either
They
that way,
didn't,
but
no.
yeah, I mean, I'd rather have Mixon right now. For the long term, I think the Bengals made the right decision. But
Yeah, absolutely.
it was funny. We mentioned it there at the end of the last segment, like kind of like just like the running back resurgence that's happening in the NFL. Like, you're seeing Henry, Mixon, Barkley, Pollard, Swift. Like they're all having like good years for their new teams, and then like just kind of like the running backs back in a way.
If you've watched the NFL long enough, everything is cyclical. And eventually the running backs become devalued, contracts go down. I heard y'all talk about the Derrick Henry contract and everything else earlier. Well, and the other thing is, like, it was frowned upon to take a running back at a high value in the draft.
Yeah.
Everybody was like second-day backs and everything else like that. Gentry from Boise State, should be a priority for some team because of the way that offenses are being run right now. And I'm just kind of I'm always interested to see the ebbs and flows of how players are valued. Because right now, wide receivers, they're all securing massive paychecks. Who is going to be that running back that's like holds out or whatever and says, hey, I'm valuable?
I mean, it probably would have been Saquon Barkley. And, like,
yeah,
and he didn't even
that's
get
the
that
name.
great of a deal. And like,
He really
it's-
didn't.
Yeah. Have you guys seen this year, like with like the running backs kind of coming back? Have you noticed any trends like season long with like over unders? Because I don't know if it's hitting like we're seeing more unders this year because teams are running the ball a little bit more, or it's kind of balanced out a little bit.
I mean, I think the books always make it balanced. What I've noticed is a better upkick in trend of Derrick Henry with a team to win. Saquon Barkley, anytime touchdown with a team to win. They're using those pieces as parlay juicers and stuff like that to where, hey, that team might be minus 300 on the money line, but if I do it with Derrick Henry, then I'm getting, and they're just trying to figure out ways to sneak them into parlays to try and boost their payouts.
That makes sense. Yeah, because I mean, Derrick Henry scored a touchdown every single week this week. So, like, if you do that every week, like, you're getting half your parlay right now.
You're one leg down.
You're one leg down
100%.
every single game.
100%.
What's the game you're most excited for this weekend? Because there's a lot of good matchups: Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, Chargers, Chiefs, Bills. Like, I know those are the ones that are probably the best games. But is there anything else on the board that just like popped out to you when you were looking at it?
So when I was making my picks for today, I normally stay away from like the marquee matchups in division rivalries. As a Bengals fan, I hate watching the Ravens Steelers. I wish they both could lose, but they're not going to. If a tie would be just fantastic. But Chiefs Bills is another one. I heard y'all saying earlier how close they play each other. So from a betting perspective, I just don't see much use in betting on that game. Other than that, it's not the best slate in the world. I ended up taking a lot on Detroit just because I don't think it's the best matchup, but from a betting perspective, you have a backup quarterback. You have Peterson probably on its way out, and the Lions playing a pretty bad game last week. I just think it's a good bounce back situation. Beyond that, I actually kind of think the Packers-Bears might be something to watch.
Which side?
I'm more interested to see what the Bears do because they have this now they're having this conversation around the organization of like, what are we doing with Caleb Williams? Is it the head coach's fault? Is he underdeveloped? And all these rumblings from, Where before the Hail Mary, it was all praise, like, hey, look at this development and things like that. And I think that this can be either a season saver if they keep it close with the Packers, or if they get blown out, then you're just going to see a complete organizational overhaul. I think at least.
I kind of hope they lose. I don't want Matt.
I've been in your spot. I'm kind of there right now.
Matt Eberflus should have been fired in the offseason.
Probably, yes.
This is now the third time since 2017 in which they're going to do the same thing. They did this with John Fox. They drafted Mitch Trubisky without telling John Fox, and then year one of John Fox and Trubisky, they fired him. They did the same thing with Nagy. They let Nagy draft Fields, and then Nagy and Fields were together for a year. They fired him. And they're going to do the same thing with Eberflus. Like, it's a bad organization, and like they keep doing it. You want Zach Taylor fired? Is that the sense we're getting there?
I'm so upset. It's been a reoccurring theme over the past 3 years. Now, granted, we have a Super Bowl run. We have an AFC Championship run. But we can't keep starting the season behind the 8 ball by losing to the Patriots on opening day. You know, whenever you're starting the season 1-4, 1-3 consistently, and you're just constantly trying to claw your way out of it, it just bodes like something is not happening in the off season to get these guys prepared. And then eventually it's like, well, Joe Burrow's played himself into shape. Jamar, I don't think that's necessarily his doing. I think it's more, hey, we're in a rhythm. Let me call the plays. Let me make the decisions. And that's what works out best. And if you have a quarterback like Burrow, that's fine, but still, you need guidance. And that's kind of like I'm jealous of the Chargers. Like, now Herbert has guidance with Harbaugh. Like, that was the best offseason acquisition besides Derrick Henry to Baltimore, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's levels to it. So my thing is, like, I'm already looking at the offseason coaching candidates. I'm not saying they're going to fire Zach Taylor, but I'm looking at the options that are out there and who would want to take this to the next level.
Yeah, in both situations with your favorite teams, and my favorite team too, the Texans. Well, they fall victim to this too, but it's the idea of getting it wrong the same way time and time again speaks to a level not of total incompetence. I mean, the Bears is total incompetence, but it's a lack of those are the winning margins. Those are the margins that's why the Chiefs can. I mean, play disappointingly every single week and win every single game.
Yeah,
is because they get the stuff right on the margins.
Yeah,
where the other 31 teams, for the most part, don't do that.
They make mistakes.
Yeah,
I mean, you win a game last week because you block a surefire field goal. Okay, and everybody sees Patrick Mahomes and all the glory of Andy Reid. They're winning because of defense this year, and they know what they're good at, and they're just good at it, and they continue to be good at it.
It's competence.
Yes, exactly.
Just being very competent. Jim Harbaugh too. Just being very competent every week. The other team is probably going to be less competent than you.
They are going to make mistakes, and as a Bengals fan, I look at Harbaugh and I get jealous, but also you look at ownership and who they're willing to pay. I mean, Burrow broke the record. The quarterback market resets after him. Everybody gets paid more. But now you have the Jamar Chase situation that's lingering in the background.
Yeah.
You could have gotten the Jamar Chase situation taken care of. He's putting up the numbers that he is. Now it's kind of like, well, you're going to have to pay him. But what happened? You know, our secondary gets torched every single week. You got to learn how to prioritize a little bit. And I still feel like our organization, our franchise, we haven't figured out like that recipe for success.
I feel like you're with me. Like, my dream right now for the Bears, and if I was a Bengals fan, I'd be feeling the same way. Like a Ben Johnson, Robert Saleh combo would be like head coach and Saleh as the DC. Texans, Monday Night Football. They're 7-point favorites. I think it opened at 8, so it's moved just like a little bit, but Nico Collins is back. CeeDee Lamb's on the injury report, but they said he's going to play. They're not.
Give me the Texans. I'm taking the Texans -7. That Cowboys organization just needs a full-on nuke. The good thing is that we don't have to worry about the sunlight, coming in on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, daylight saving.
We need, they'll find another excuse for why they lost this game.
What do you, how low have these second half totals been for the Texans? Have you, because they haven't scored a touchdown in the second half in 3-4 weeks.
Well, here's the funny thing is, most of those bets get done on the kiosk, so I really haven't had to look at those numbers. But the other night I was watching and I was just like, "Woof, that's not promising."
It's so bad.
Yeah,
they have 84 points in the season in the second half, and 27 of those came against the Patriots.
And
it was so bad.
That team hasn't been healthy though, and I think that this is kind of what I said about the Lions earlier against the Jaguars, I feel like now that you got Nico back, and I think that this is going to be, hey, let's open up the playbook. Let's get back into a rhythm. We have a very few amount of weeks to get back back into the swing of things before the playoffs. Let's get these reps in. And I hate to say this to Cowboy fans, but it's almost like a practice squad you're playing against. So use this opportunity to try and develop some things.
We were talking about this last thing here before we let you go. We were talking about Super Bowl odds, just kind of seeing where they're at right now. 49ers, before there's like a big jump into the 2000s, but 49ers are sixth right now at plus 1,000. Is that protection in case McCaffrey really takes off? Because it feels like in terms of Chiefs, Lions, Ravens, Bills, Eagles, 49ers, they're kind of the team that doesn't belong, but then there's just such a big jump between them to plus 1,000 to the Packers at plus 2,200.
So I think the thing about the 49ers is that nobody's ran away from that division. And a playoffs, there's going to be one playoff team that comes from there. I personally think there's going to be two. But what matters most is getting into the tournament. And the 49ers had such bad injury luck at the beginning of the year. Maybe it's starting to correct themselves. There's always the nominee for team from hell. And I thought the 49ers were due for it. They're starting to get healthy. Arizona was not able to put the division away. I think that they are a second playoff team from that division. The Rams, for whatever reason, haven't figured anything out.
Yeah.
And then the Seahawks may be regressing. So it's a whole bunch of middling teams. And I think getting into the tournament matters. And I think that the 49ers, if they win the division, just lock up a playoff spot, nobody's going to want to play them. They have the experience. It's kind of like playing the Chiefs. You put them in that spot, and it's like, okay, he's been through this before.
Yeah, I'm thinking of like a scenario where it's like the Eagles are the 2 seed, but 49ers are the 7 seed, and just like taking out the Eagles in the first round of the playoffs, like
and taking out Sirianni and everything else that goes along with it. There's going to be a team that's going to be just shaking their head in the NFC playoffs. That's just like I really have to play them after going 11 and 6, 12 and 5, whatever.
All right, we'll take a break here. Matt, before we go, I just want to say thank you. I'm sure we'll be doing these again next year, but I think this is our last one on the books for 2024. So thank you guys for everything you've done for us.
Absolutely, we appreciate having you. I mean,
we love being here.
Y'all are awesome. Y'all are professional, courteous, all that good stuff. We hope to have you back. And if you ever need something, you always feel free to reach out.
All right, here's Matt Holland. When you leave Texas betting your Texas teams, make sure you do it here at ESPN Bet inside LaBerge Lake Charles. It is the Bullpen here on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. It's the Bullpen here on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. Joe George, Sean Mapes, and Cam Smith here with you from 10 to noon today. Broadcasting inside ESPN Bat at LaBerge in Lake Charles. All the pregame shows are on TV, so we're about an hour away now from kickoff. Going to be an interesting day in the NFL. Like Matt was just talking about there, not the best lineup this weekend. Of our scheduling purposes for trips to LaBerge, not the terms of best games, I would say.
Yeah.
And I meant to tell this to Matt. I will say, I think I told you this last night, or talked to you guys. This place is fun during college football Saturday and during NFL games, but my gosh, it is a vibe during UFC fights.
Yeah.
Like, it is just a totally different
MMA, it's a
environment.
different level.
Yeah.
It's a different volume.
Yeah,
It's just a different volume. The entire
Well, all the oohs and ahs and oh from last night's fight.
yeah.
Because even like if you do like I've only been to like Vegas a couple times, and like I guess it just hasn't happened here where like there's like we haven't been here for like a crazy day. Like I wish we were here like 2 weeks ago when the witching hour was just bananas, and like there was every single game was coming down to the wire with field goals and 2-point conversions and things like that. So we haven't been lucky enough to experience something like that here yet, but it's so funny. They just showed on TV a fake of Netflix's it not loading, and I was like, oh, their TVs are down for a second.
Because Gronk is on the desk, and he was dapping up. They showed him dapping up Shaq, and then they just went in and edited it to look like it was like glitching out at the second. Yeah, that's funny.
Very funny. Because it looked like for a second, I was like, uh-oh, that's
it looked
not
real.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they had some struggles yesterday, from local TV struggles yesterday that they were dealing with. All right, let's do the prize pick underdog of the week. Mapes?
Okay,
I'll start out with this today.
Yeah, I'll start things off. I'll go Bijan Robinson more than 99.5 rush and receiving yards combined.
Yep.
I like him as a dump-off option a lot in this matchup because the Broncos defense is a very solid defense. They don't allow many big plays. Kirk Cousins is not a quarterback that will force a big play, so he has no issue going to the dump-off time and time again. It's honestly one of his bigger weaknesses as a quarterback, but here it can be a strength. Bijan obviously running the ball and then getting some work in the backfield, more than 99.5.
I like that. I'm gonna start with. I'm gonna just jump ahead to Monday Night Football here already. It's like, let's look at these Nico Collins numbers. I'm going more than 70 receiving yards in this game.
Okay.
So I think Nico will get at least one big play for the Texans.
Yeah.
On Monday night.
So you need like one reception for 40 and then, like three, 12, 15 yards.
Yeah. The only thing I'd be in trouble with is that if they just start gashing them on the ground and they're just like, hey, we're gonna take it easy.
You have to worry a little bit about two things: the blowout potential of Joe Buck and Troy Aikman talking about Nico Collins as he's standing on the sideline, not breaking he hasn't broken a sweat in an hour.
Yeah,
you have to worry about that, and snap count. First game back, they seem to be very cautious with them last week.
Yeah,
so you worry about that a little, but maybe they're cautious with him last week. So now he's 100%, 200% full go, ready to go. Maybe you don't have to worry about that, but you don't know.
Yeah, I think you think because he was 100% last week that they would very quickly just be like, hey, we're gonna
full workload,
but you never know with the Texans. They're a hard to predict team early on.
Almost Astros-ish. It needs to be more body of work, but it's getting there.
I think the difference between the Astros though and the Texans is that the Astros keep it so tight that they don't have any reporters getting it just flat out wrong. Yeah. Where the Texans clearly have someone telling Aaron Wilson stuff, and he reported that he was going to be back this week, and then he wasn't, or be back last week, and that's not Aaron's fault because Nico was clearly healthy. They just didn't play him. Mm-hmm. But there's no one not spreading disinformation, but they got it wrong. With the Astros, we just don't know anything.
Yeah.
Cam, what you got one for us today?
I do have one. it makes me makes me scared because
You
I
are
never
scared.
want to bet against Patrick Mahomes, but
I know.
I do like the under 243.5 passing yards against the Bills today. If there's a year that I was going to take Pat Mahomes under a certain amount of yards, it's going to be this year.
It's going to be against the Bills. Probably.
Honestly, I bet you he's hitting those pretty frequently this season.
The unders.
Yeah, because like
Because
mean,
technically, what
technically-
Cam Woods just said, like you don't want to
Yeah.
bet an under on Pat Mahomes.
You don't, but the fact is that he's only averaging 244.5 yards passing this year against the whole table. But then you go against the Bills, who obviously have a more than average defense, and I
Yeah.
think that they've also seen Mahomes enough the last couple of years. And obviously, Mahomes' weapons this year are completely different. And I mean, everybody. It seems like everybody offensively on the Chiefs has taken
yeah,
like a step back. So
Kelsey's like starting to like put on the cape a little bit,
A little bit,
again,
yeah.
but yeah. He's for the most part this year. He hasn't
Yeah.
been there. Still working in Hopkins. So yeah, and the rest of the receivers you don't like. So yeah, I can see that.
yeah, and then they were looking at. So they said today, it looks like Pacheco will be back for Week 12. But they're playing the Panthers, so
So
people
next
also
week?
think that he might not play next week as they play the Panthers. Like, just give.
another week
Oh,
of rest.
Yeah, it's like, why are we debuting Pacheco? Like,
Yeah.
just like wait till the following week when you play the Raiders on Black Friday, which I still don't know if I really need that in my life.
Black Friday
NFL game,
football.
yeah.
We need a good game.
Well,
We-
Raiders
we-
Chiefs is not it.
We've gotten a bunch of stinkers. Hey, last year was that on
Jets
Christmas?
Dolphins. Last
No.
year's Jets Dolphins on Black Friday.
But they didn't. The Chiefs Raiders play on Christmas or Christmas Eve, and the Raiders beat them. Remember that?
Oh, I think you're right.
It's the reason Antonio Pierce still has a job to this day.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. I just roughly remember that. But no, I also don't expect that to be a good game. I have another one. We'll have two more. I'll do this one first because it kind of piggybacks off of what Matt was talking about last segment with the Lions against the Jags. Give me Jamison Williams more than 44.5 receiving yards.
Oh,
I like
44.5. That's
I like-
it.
Yeah.
I like
Oh.
JMO. Well, because he's kind of a feast or famine guy, but the way they used him last week versus the Texans,
Mhm.
I'm like,
I mean, dude
He
averages
could
like
be-
22 yards a catch. So
Yeah.
basically 2
Yeah.
catches and he hits.
Yeah,
Like,
or
yeah.
jet sweep, some poor tackling by the Jags, and you're there. Yeah, so I just think it's a game where the Lions are probably going to go off, and
Yeah.
if they're going to go off, I like Williams in that one.
All right.
And it's late enough to know I know he will not be suspended for today's game.
Uh,
Normally we do this segment on Saturday, and there's still too much time to know if he's going to be suspended.
What's your other one?
Jaden Reed over 49.5 receiving yards.
Whatever.
some low numbers. I got George Pickens over 73.5.
Yeah, I like Pickens too.
Especially
I like
against
Pickens, too.
Baltimore.
Yeah.
I mean,
The last number one receiver they faced went for 200.
yeah.
Cam, you have another one, or is that your last one?
The George Pickens one?
Yeah.
No, that's my last one. There was a Lamar Jackson one, but I might stay away from that one. It was like 235.5
Okay.
passing yards. I think I was actually going to go under, but I don't think I'm going to touch that one actually.
The other two that I have, first one here because he hasn't been used enough this season, and I think this is where like the new offensive coordinator will try to fix things very quickly for the Bears. Cole Kmet's receiving is like 30 yards.
Oh, okay. Here we go. This now you're
So,
filling
like-
in for Brian,
like,
doing a
Yeah.
disappointing fantasy
Yeah.
tight end.
yeah, like give me Cole Kmet like more than 30 receiving yards
I was
in this game. They paid him $50 million this offseason, and like when he's been hitting, like he is like a very talented wide
he
receiver,
is
but
good,
like
yeah.
they just like haven't used him the last 2 weeks. He went 6 straight quarters without a target as Caleb Williams is struggling, just like idiotic football coaching. Having him run the longest deep hits routes when he's not that fast. Like Caleb's getting sacked before he's made his move
Yeah.
against the safety in this one. And then just give me more than, I don't even have the number in front of me as I'm trying to pull it back up here, more than whatever Jameis Winston passing yards is for this weekend. I'm feeling the vibe of Jameis Winston.
Who they
More
play-
than,
the Saints. Yeah.
let's see, on
Revenge
ESPN,
game.
on ESPN Bet, it's like to get to even money, it's more than 250 passing yards. So I guess we're going with more than 250 passing yards for Jameis Winston in this game.
There we go.
So I just feel like I'm feeling on Jameis today. Revenge game. I just love watching Jameis Winston play football.
Me too. It's so great.
It's so much fun. He might throw 5 picks, but he might throw for 300 yards. It's just like it's can't miss television. All right, when we get back, we will get back into a little bit of the Texans and what they're looking like at tomorrow night here. It is Joe George, Cam Smith, Sean Mapes broadcasting live from inside ESPN Bet at LaBerge in Lake Charles.
You're listening to The Bullpen, live from the mobile Veritex Community Bank Studios located at LaBerge Casino Resort in Lake Charles. Here's Joe George, Brian McDonald, and Sean Mapes.
The Seahawks tried to pair DK and Debo.
Back here on The Bullpen on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5, Joe George, Sean Mapes, Cam Smith, broadcasting live from inside ESPN Bet at LaBerge in Lake Charles. You know what, Cam? I was off the mic, but we'll hit on that here. 2 interesting stories that have come up. Randomly, Adam Schefter decided to tweet out that the Seahawks tried to trade for Deebo Samuel. I don't know why he decided now to put this out there.
Yeah.
They tried to trade back into the second round to acquire Deebo Samuel and DK Metcalf the same year.
Oh, wait.
Yes.
So this is
Yes. This is
in 2019.
This is a back to the draft random nugget he just decided to drop. I don't know why.
That's why when I saw the headline, I was like, wait, wasn't this like 7 years
Yes.
ago? Like,
I was thinking.
Six?
I was thinking you were talking about
like the offseason.
this offseason.
Yeah.
Like that he. Oh my God. Okay. Cool. Thank you, Adam Schefter.
Yeah, like
You know what? This is to be fair. The Seahawks and the Niners are playing this week, and for the first time in these guys' career, they're going to be playing. No, wait, they play 2 times a year. every
exactly.
year.
It's like why like how did it take you 5 years to break this honestly like irrelevant story?
Yeah, it's like
it's just such a weird thing to
draft day. What if of, but also like draft day. What if of like. I don't know. It's not exactly Jerry Rice. It's Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, and like I think just like even like the headline is just like on ESPN is like sources Seattle Debo Metcalf draft plan. I'm like, guys, like it's just such a weird way to frame this whole. It's just a bizarre.
I'm not interested in the draft. I'm not really that interested in the draft. That's in what 6 months.
Yeah,
I'm definitely not interested in the draft from 5 years ago.
you haven't been doing your mock drafts?
I've not been doing.
I'm not going to lie. I have done a few.
What?
but the
Your team
Chargers
is good.
The Chargers are good. Why do you care?
Sometimes when you're sitting on the couch, you're just a little bored. You pull out your phone. You just start doing a little mock draft and get weird with it.
I mean,
See, like-
I'll click on a link, everyone, like
Yeah.
CBS.com link. But
I
like,
only like look because like I'm curious like what they think of the quarterbacks. Like that's where I kind of look at the mock draft. It's just like where do they have Shador going? Who's the other quarterback going? Like people talk about like I'm not a Cam Ward believer.
well, Tankathon has them going number 3 to the Tennessee Titans.
Cool. So the Texans are going to run the division again for the next 4 years because he's going to be Malik Willis 2.0. Like they can't draft a quarterback to save their life. They've tried to take one in the 3rd round, in the 2nd round, and then now they're going to take one in the 1st round. Good luck.
there was
to the
like
Titans.
a I think it was on Twitter. Somebody posted a picture. They did a mock draft, but every round for the Titans, they picked a quarterback, and they're like, "Well, one's going to hit."
yeah. Well, because like I thought last year, like they like could have just taken a quarterback. And it's like you take a quarterback in the 3rd round. The next year you take one in the 2nd round. The next one you take one in the 1st round. It's like, well, one of these guys is going to be good. Well, Malik Willis has more wins than Jordan Love for the Packers this year, so maybe they should have just kept
That's crazy too.
him. You know what? We'll get to the Texans in the next segment. Important news came out last night for sports fans, I would say, for basketball fans last night. Last night, Alex Sherman, who is a reporter for kind of a media reporter a little bit, broke the news or confirmed the news that Warner Brothers has reached a settlement agreement with the NBA because they were suing them over the rights deal that happened. And part of this settlement includes inside the NBA has been leased by Warner Brothers to ESPN. The talent and everything will remain TNT employees, but inside the NBA with Charles and Ernie and everyone and Shaq will continue after this season as Warner Brothers loses the rights to the NBA. TNT obviously will no longer have the product, any games at all, but inside the NBA lives.
So it's basically how they do the Pat McAfee show is
Yeah.
like where they lease out the Pat McAfee show, but Pat still runs and owns all of it. They just okay.
Yep. So
All right.
Cool.
All right, we did it.
I would be
We did it.
upset if there was no more Shaq and
Yeah.
Chuck.
Yeah, because I don't really have any attachment to TNT
No,
other than those 4 guys
Yep.
on the set. And if we're going to keep those 4 guys on that same set, it sounds like they're still going to be in Atlanta.
yeah, it's like they're not moving to Bristol.
They're not doing it Bristol, not
Yeah.
doing LA.
Well, that's like one of my favorite things was like when they were talking about the idea that like the show would continue without also carrying NBA games, and I'm like, you guys really think that's gonna work? Like you're gonna like just have this as like a 1-hour show?
Yeah, at 11:30 on a Thursday night.
Yeah, like people are gonna tune in. Like I don't think that's gonna quite work like this.
Yeah.
probably not.
The other interesting like story I think we saw this week, kind of in the world of sports. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers was asked about coming back next year, playing quarterback for the Jets, or just playing football in 2025. He said yes, that he wants to, but then Diana Rossini reported that it seems kind of unlikely that it's with the New York Jets, actually.
Wow.
So, doesn't surprise me. Like, I kind of felt like that was like the way this was like always going to go, just like similar to the Brett Favre thing. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if it goes almost exactly like Brett Favre, where he struggled with the Jets and then he went to Minnesota and they were pretty good, and they were one bad interception away from basically going to a Super Bowl. Like, I'm not going to believe in Aaron Rodgers as a Jet, but like if he is the quarterback for, I don't know where he would go. Like
That's the issue. That's the issue.
Like, where is he the quarterback this year?
Yeah, and it really speaks like it's an indictment to how he's played this season. But you look around teams like who would trade their current situation
to deal with that
for
situation.
Aaron Rodgers
Yeah.
when you're not getting MVP Aaron Rodgers. It is a tough it's a tough place to find out there in the NFL landscape.
And he's what, 30, 39, 40?
Yeah.
40 now? I mean, obviously somebody's going to get him.
If he wants to play, like there will be
somebody. But I couldn't tell you a team that wants
Cleveland Browns
wants to deal with all that nonsense.
Cleveland,
and then fact that the Jets traded for Devontae Adams to make Aaron Rodgers happy, and
he's a free
it's
agent.
not happening.
That happening to Adams twice is very funny. Going to Vegas to play with Derek Carr and Derek Carr immediately getting traded.
No, I think Devontae is a free agent, so he can
so
follow
Aaron.
Stuck. All right, I got one for you.
The Bears.
The Bears.
That would be something if they were like, "Hey, Caleb, you're going to sit for a year behind Aaron, and then come back next year."
Or the Vikings
instead of McCarthy.
Yeah, just sit another year.
Now this quarterback has already been almost replaced once by a Hall of Famer. He is the cheapest quarterback basically in the NFL of all starting 32. The 49ers fall short a lot.
Oh, wow.
Is there an Aaron Rodgers to the 49ers? Because Brock Purdy
from California
and the 49ers fall short. He grew up a 49ers. No, that's Tom Brady, who grew up a 49ers fans. But like Kyle Shanahan, Debo, Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Aaron Rodgers.
I feel like they really vibe with Brock out there. Like I feel like that would really cause a rift. I mean, I could see him going to Vegas more than the 49ers. I know it's not Cali, but it's right there. And then the Raiders have no quarterback. So
I struggle to think that like Aaron Rodgers plays next year if he's not on a team that on paper looks like a team that can win the Super Bowl. Because at least like the Jets, like you look at their roster before the season,
you can sell,
and you're like
you can sell this being a good team.
You're like you have Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, like good defense, like this should be a good team. But then obviously they're a disaster. Like I struggle to think that like he's going to go to like one of the worst teams in the NFL.
Yeah,
like
I agree. Yeah, they're really Indianapolis.
That would be something.
They already benched Anthony Richardson.
Like here comes Aaron Rodgers to save the Indianapolis Colts with Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman.
I'm literally just looking at the screens, and so many of these screens have the quarterback currently warming up. And so I'm just looking at these
Gardner
quarterbacks.
Minshew.
I'm looking at the quarterbacks. I'm like, I don't know. Rodgers probably better. He's better than Will Levis.
Yeah, like I don't really see like I'm like looking through these teams. I'm just like I don't know, like
not better than Lamar.
Like Seattle, like you're gonna like bail on Geno for like a year of Rodgers. Like where does like who wants Aaron Rodgers if he decides?
Yeah,
like he's like there's always changes. Like you never know what's gonna happen. Hell, we could see. I mean, like the funniest thing in the world though, honestly, would be like if like the Cowboys like bailed on Dak, and then like all of a sudden like Aaron Rodgers.
I have no idea what you're gonna say after that. And you like delivered. It was like funny.
Devontae Adams and CeeDee Lamb and Aaron Rodgers and Ashton Genty next year. Like that would be the funniest thing that could possibly happen. Yeah, honestly,
it's tough. It's tough because 6 teams drafted a quarterback last year.
I know.
So I'm just looking through and I was like, oh, the Broncos. They know. They always need a veteran quarterback to step. Oh nope, they drafted Bo Nix.
Exactly. Like it's like. So it's interesting. We're like it's like well, he wants to play, but now it's almost like is there actually a team that would want Aaron Rodgers, which is still a strange thing to say.
Jacksonville.
Like, I mean, they
he
just
can
paid,
go to Jacksonville.
They just paid Trevor. Like
Dallas paid Dak.
Yeah, but Jerry's irrational.
Yeah, true.
So Shad Khan doesn't seem like to be as an irrational type of a guy, but you never know. So it's just an odd thing that happened. So all right, we'll get back into the Texans here in the next segment before our final segment of the show, where we'll do our best and worst person in sports this week. It is Joe George, Cam Smith, and Sean Mapes broadcasting live from inside ESPN Bet at LaBerge in Lake Charles.
Houston, get ready to rumble with the Hall of Fame on ESPN Radio.
That's right, Booker. We're bringing the heat Tuesday through Friday right here on the Houston airwaves on 97.5 and 92.5.
We've got the exclusive scoop on wrestling, boxing, and everything in between.
Join us for the smackdown of sports talk and don't miss a moment of the action.
The Hall of Fame. Now, can you dig that? Sucker!
The Bullpen live from LaBerge Casino Resort continues. Now back to the mobile Veritex Community Bank Studios with Joe George, Brian McDonald, and Sean Mapes.
It's Joe, Sean, and Cam here, broadcasting live inside ESPN Bet at LaBerge in Lake Charles. I almost didn't make it back in time. I forgot how little traction Jordans have.
Oh, yeah.
They are. I love these shoes, but my gosh, the bathroom floor just a little bit wet. And just the laminate, I'm sliding.
Such a subtle way of talking about how he has Jordans
I know,
on.
right?
They were cheap.
Oh.
I'll give a quick shout out because they're a friendly sponsor. So Athletically Declined, the podcast, the guys who won Rock the Mic, they have this the shoe store they partner with called Sold Out. Their new studios are there.
That's a good name.
And
too.
they opened a new location and invited me to the opening. It was 2 minutes from my house. So now I drive by it every day.
Oh, nice.
When they did openings, they had 300 pairs of shoes for $100. So I walked in and there was this giant table. Hard to find sizes though. But just because they were limited,
yeah.
So most of them are either really big shoes or really small shoes. But I found these for and I was like, can't beat that deal. But I was just walking in the bathroom. I'm sliding. And I'm please don't I almost just swore.
A slip and slide.
I almost just swore. I was please don't fall. Please don't fall. Please don't fall. I don't look at a casino. I feel the frequency of a life alert button getting hit is once a week.
All the time. All the time, I'm sure.
I feel
Yeah.
There's another one. I will not mention them obviously since they're a competitor, but there's another one that I went to one time here, and at the time they had no table games. It was only slot machines. They'd opened a sports book, so I went there with $7.90. But you walk in, and it's just, my gosh, because there's only that so there's just buses of old people.
Oh, the Lubies crowd was popping yesterday.
Yeah. But this place was all I saw was oxygen machines. Also, my favorite thing about casino. Oxygen machine with the cigarette.
Yeah, I was gonna. Saw
that.
That hit me last night. I mean, I knew it intuitively,
Yeah.
but just see, looking around and you're inside, and I've been indoors for 48 straight hours, and I just am looking around, and I just see someone just lighting a cigarette inside, and I am just that's crazy. That
It is so strange. It's still, even though it's obviously normal here, but it's just such
it's the only place is normal.
Yeah, because I don't know, Sean. I guess most of your life it wasn't like that. I would assume, right?
No.
Because still for part of Cam and I's life growing up, it was very normal to have. I remember flying. There were still smoking sections. I think. I remember. Maybe not flying, but I remember my whole life growing up, it was always at a hotel. Smoking or non-smoking.
Well,
and that's not
bars for sure.
Bars. It still would live on a little bit. Bars, and for some reason, Denny's also they would ask you smoking or non-smoking.
That actually makes sense, though.
See,
it does.
Yeah, I always thought that was the strangest part of a restaurant, though, when they'd be smoking or non-smoking. I'm well, the whole
place is gonna smell.
It's just, I guess, it's just how directly it's in your face while you're trying to eat
and you could probably do something.
Your
with
Denny's,
Well, that's the thing too. How is smoking a cigarette while eating enjoyable? I get if you're smoking something else and then you're eating, how that can be enjoyable, but puffing on a stogie in a Denny's while you're eating your waffles, I'm just kind of huh?
It's so funny. The other day, Dana and I were driving around somewhere, and I just look up, and there's just kind of smoke coming out of a car, and I'm oh, that guy's ripping a cig while he's driving, and all of a sudden it's Houston traffic, so it slows down, and he just like has this big ass stogie, like a big cigar in his hand, and I'm like, I don't understand that life either. Just like being like, hey, gonna smoke a cigar in my car on the way
In
home.
traffic.
I know Houston traffic sucks,
That is
but like. It was like 90 degrees outside. So, first of all, you have to be miserably hot in
Absolutely
your car.
not.
Like, just do not understand.
That's
Like,
crazy. That's crazy. You're starting to sell me on it a little bit, and then it was hot. Yeah,
you're like it's hot outside. It's like no, like you're sweating your ass off in your car. Like, I guess like your AC still kind of works, but anything Texans left we haven't hit on. They're gonna win this. They're gonna win.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lock it
Duh.
in. Lock it in. They're gonna win.
Yeah, they're gonna cover the 7. Like.
They are minus 375 on the money line.
That's that high?
Yeah.
I mean, that means I bet you that's got to be the highest this weekend. Quick look through.
Yes.
Yeah, the next
no,
no,
Lions.
There's one more. The Lions.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
the Detroit money line
13.5.
minus 835 on the money line. I do like that Lions bet. What Matt was talking about. Like I'm still debating if I'm sticking around for the games or not. If I am, I'm definitely betting the Lions game. Minus 13.5. They're going to boat race Jacksonville.
Oh, absolutely.
That is a terrible football team. And Mac Jones is awful. Like
the way your eyes rolled back when you said awful.
he's so bad. Like I can't believe that he made a Pro Bowl. That's why
He shouldn't have made a Pro Bowl.
Him, Tyler Huntley, Mitch Trubisky.
Okay, good. I didn't want to be the one to say it.
It's still like my favorite photo is that of Deshaun, Mahomes, and Trubisky all at the Pro Bowl their second year. And it's like the future of the NFL.
Yeah.
It's like one of those guys is.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, not even two of them. Yeah, in the moment,
If I offer you a wager, who's more likely to start in a playoff game again in their career? Mitch Trubisky or Deshaun Watson?
who's Mr. Trubisky play for? Who's he the backup at?
He's Josh Allen's backup.
Oh,
Mitch Trubisky.
Trubisky by far.
He took one snap while Josh Allen was concussed and then magically came back into the game and was not concussed.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
I remember that now.
I remember being there and me and my dad are sitting next to each other and I was like, it's Mitchell time! Like,
Definitely
yeah,
Trubisky.
no, yeah, there's a chance that Josh Allen gets hurt in a playoff game and he starts.
and Trubisky like finishes it and then has to start the next week.
Yeah, that's way more likely than
Deshaun
actually make the play.
Who's more desirable? We'll connect the last two segments then. Who's more desirable for NFL teams this year? Deshaun Watson gets cut. Aaron Rodgers is released so he can choose his own team. It's Rodgers, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
It has to be.
Rodgers by a good
Cleveland
amount.
is screwed with that contract.
I think they just have to eat it.
That's a whole lot to eat.
Like, I don't know how you keep him around. Like, it's way worse than the Russell Wilson stuff. Like, the amount of dead money, it's going to set you back. But, like, I don't even know, like, if I draft a quarterback
No,
this year. Like,
no, not this year. There's no point.
It's like I'm tanking for Arch Manning. But then again, like,
And then you have to hope that the Manning family wants Arch Manning to play in Cleveland, which I have bad news.
Yeah,
They've done that before.
yeah, tell me about it.
I mean, come on, you got the better quarterback.
Yeah.
We did, but still, it's funny just that it happened.
Yeah,
to us.
we can play all these hypotheticals with like Caleb Williams. Like,
Yeah.
will he want to play for the Bears? Is he gonna? And like for the most part, no one does it
yeah.
except for one guy who did it, or one family who did
See,
it.
I think, whenever it's like people talk about that, it's like it's not realistic.
Mhm.
But if it happens the next 2 years where Dion does it for Shador and then the Mannings do it for Arch,
Yeah.
then I feel like we kind of set a precedent doing it back-to-back years. And it's like we might try to see it more often.
The seal might be broken.
Yeah, like it's just like, all right, it's time to.
But if I was an NFL team and someone was sitting at a conference room table across from me and they're not Deion Sanders or Archie Manning and they're trying to put if it's no offense to Caleb Williams' dad, but if it's just whatever Caleb Williams' dad, I'm like, cool, dude, cool. Like, you're not a Hall of Famer? Yeah. I think we're just going to draft your son and you can be mad about it.
Yeah, and like also like you'll get over it.
Yeah,
Like,
you'll get over it.
like it's gonna be okay. Yeah, I don't see like the. It's fine. Then here's a tweet that just popped up. Most remaining fully guaranteed salary on the books for 2025. Deshaun Watson, $92 million. My God,
bro.
Well, they made it worse because they tried to because they wanted to be
All guaranteed.
Well, but then
And they restructured.
they restructured it. So his first year with the Browns, because he was going to be suspended, they restructured his contract so he'd only get paid $1 million that season, and they converted it all into a signing bonus. So they gave him like $40 million right then, and then all the restructures that happened after, like they just put themselves in like this giant hole.
Only
like,
the Browns.
Yeah, and at no point did he look good. That
Yes.
was the crazy.
No.
Like they did it speculating that eventually he'll get back to his old self, and he's gone worse.
Yeah.
He was outplayed by Joe Flacco,
Yeah, outplayed
who
by
was sitting
Jameis
on his
Winston.
couch.
Yeah, I mean he's outplayed by Jameis. I mean he'd be outplayed. Think about what happened last year.
DTR?
They won like 9 games or whatever it was with 4 different quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Last year, and Deshaun was one of them. But like all those other guys were winning games, and they were winning them better than Deshaun Watson, like not just Joe Flacco. All right, when we get back, the person, worst person, best person in sports are the things we loved. We'll do that next here as we wrap up the Bullpen broadcasting live from inside ESPN Bet at LaBerge in Lake Charles.
You're listening to The Bullpen, live from the mobile Veritex Community Bank Studios located at LaBerge Casino Resort in Lake Charles. Here's Joe George, Brian McDonald, and Sean Mapes.
Final segment of the Bullpen, broadcasting live from inside ESPN Bet at LaBerge in Lake Charles. Before we do the worst person in sports this week and things we loved, we started this last time we were here at LaBerge, the ceremonial ripping of tickets as we get ready to leave. So I will start with, since Brian McDonald's not here, every time he came, he bet on BYU.
Yes.
So he said, always bet on BYU. So he sent Sean some money to bet on BYU. So then
BYU
Sean
lost.
bet on BYU, and then I bet on BYU, and, well, BYU lost.
Yes. BYU 3-point favorites, lost outright at home against Kansas. I wanted to be a little tricky with it.
Yeah.
So I put it as part of a parlay with John Jones to win. John Jones was minus 670 in his fight against Stipe Miocic. So to get some value,
Yeah.
I thought of, or I didn't think about it. I did it. Parlaying those. John Jones won.
Yeah.
BYU not so much. Ripping of the ticket.
I'm going to rip these two real quick. Also, because we were supposed to rip them last time, and I couldn't find them.
Oh, yes.
And these are important because as right now, this is our last show for the year at LaBerge. But our first show was for March Madness, and Matt came on with us, our first time meeting Matt,
Yes.
and he gave us some advice.
It's amazing that we still like them as much as we
Yes, because this one says Astros over 92.5 regular season wins.
do.
Sean, Brian, and I put together our money together on it. Goodbye. Astros to win the American League and to go to the World Series. Goodbye.
Rough.
So, RIP to the Astros 2024 season officially now that we
Yes.
found those tickets.
Yes, you bringing up futures reminded me of a couple futures I have for Heisman winners.
You can't rip those up yet.
Yes, I can. Are you kidding me? Do you think Nico Iamaleava is going to win the Heisman?
No.
Do you think there's any world that Quinn Ewers wins the Heisman?
No.
Probably not.
Wow, he did
A
it.
pre-rip?
I'm calling it.
Honestly, now I kind of want to bet on both of them to win the Heisman.
I'm dead.
Just for like that.
They're not going to. There's 2 games left.
I
They both
know.
have 2 games left. They're not going to win the
Cam, what are we ripping? What do you got?
God. Boise State and San Jose State
Heisman.
Yeah.
lost that, and Tennessee at Georgia.
That's another
So,
one that falls into the lesson. Don't parlay, kids. I was on Arizona State plus 7.5. Easy. 1 at halftime, more or less. They're up 21-0 at halftime. But I did parlay that with San Jose State plus 14. That is a loser.
I don't have anything. I wish I had one to like a cash sound because of my hit last night.
Yeah.
That was nice.
That was
Over
nice.
2.5 round parlay the last 2
that
fights.
was a good one, yeah.
You know,
You know what? Do parlay, kids. Don't
know
listen
what?
to me. Parlay.
Guess what? I also listen to Matt because since I decided I am going to stick around and watch the Bears game here and then do my other work.
Yeah. You got some.
So I went and put some action in on these games. I did take the Lions minus 14 to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then I just did what we just talked about with Matt. I parlayed the Lions money line with Derrick Henry anytime touchdown score parlay.
There we
So
go.
it ends up being
There
like
we go.
minus 157. So not the best odds still because
Yeah.
the
'cause
Lions
they're both
are
huge favorites.
yeah, it's a minus 210 and a minus 910. But you know
Oh
what?
my God.
Like, well, I think I feel like we're
Minus
okay on that one.
910.
Minus 910.
Yes, on
An
the
NFL
sheet.
game.
That's on the sheet here we have. So when we got to ESPN Bet this morning, the Lions were minus 835. It's now minus 910. All right, you guys do this every single show you do. We didn't do it yesterday because we're doing 2 shows this weekend. Worst person in sports and the thing we love the most. Worst person. Anyone want to go first?
Worst person, Tyson Paul, all of it. I don't know if that's too broad.
No.
I don't know if I
Well.
enjoyed much of it.
Sean, I was going to go with the 65 million people who watched it, but I was going to say Netflix itself for
Yeah.
not being able to handle it.
It's every level. It's
Yeah.
every level. It's the actual performance. It's the technical difficulties.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that that's what we did on as a nation on a Friday night.
Yes. So I'm with you on that one.
Well,
You got
since
a
y'all both
different
did that one, I'm going to go with the head coach of San Jose football for having the ball at the half-yard line And all you needed to do was just step it into the end zone for me to hit my bet. But no, you decided to throw a pass and got sacked for 13 yards, and the game ended. So
yeah, the other one I was
That's
thinking was the end of the Notre Dame game yesterday. They're up 35-0. Virginia scores to make it 35-7. They're driving again, and with 18 seconds left to go on a 3rd and 2, after being stopped on 1st and 2nd down from like the 4-yard line, Virginia runs it in to make it 31-14. The line was 21.5.
Oof.
So as pretty much as bad of a beat as you can get when the team you're betting on is up by 35. Let's see. Bad day at the casino for the wife already. Hopefully I'll save the day here with these bets I just placed. Thing we love this week. Honestly, I just don't understand why it happened. It's such a weird story that I'm so glad Adam Schefter told it.
Oh, the Deebo Samuel.
The fact that the Seahawks tried to trade to acquire Deebo Samuel and DK Metcalf in the 2019 draft, and that story coming out on a Friday night in 2024. Love it. Don't know why we needed it, but love it.
That also worst person.
Worst person.
I hate that. Adam Schefter. Best thing I loved in sports, Wrigley Field for hosting Ohio State and Northwestern. And I want to show you this, the catch of the year. And you can see some issues that were had by having this game
Show it to Cam.
in the middle of a baseball stadium. Catch of the year.
Terrific.
Completely obstructed by the people in the right field bleachers.
Yeah, they're trying. They're trying. Notre Dame plays at a baseball stadium next week. They play Army and Yankee Stadium.
Oh, dear God.
I know they're trying to do these things to make it cooler, but like doesn't usually. It's better than when Northwestern played when there was a bowl game at Wrigley the first time,
Yeah.
and they got the field dimensions wrong, so they could only go one way.
Both teams had to play going into one end zone.
I still don't remember what would have happened if there was.
that.
I still don't remember what the rules were if there was a pick six.
I think they just run it back.
But like, what if you couldn't? But you couldn't go that way. Remember, like,
Well, no, you could go that way. It just wasn't safe because the wall was so close to the end zone.
yeah,
That they didn't want like
Constant
someone getting pushed
possessions.
into it.
yeah,
My God.
yeah. What a mess that was.
I'm sure they'll figure it out. I just love the fact that like it was an awesome catch by I think it was Carnell Tate from
but
Ohio State.
no one could see it.
Yeah, but on the TV broadcast, you just cannot see it
Yeah.
whatsoever because it happened because guys are standing up.
So much for
in the
that
middle of the
highlight
camera.
reel.
Yeah, right.
Cam, what you love here as we wrap up?
I don't think this is for this week, but I'm just reading it this week. LaMelo Ball's $250 donation of pet meals for every bucket he scores. That's pretty.
Oh,
I mean, that's a great contribution, but at the same time, that's pretty
That's a
crazy amount of dog food. 250 meals per bucket scored.
Dude,
That's a lot of dog
Yeah.
food, bro.
he's gonna score like 2,000 points this year.
There's gonna be way more
Dogs around the world are going to get fed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, are they dogs around the world or dogs in the United States?
Charlotte's gonna have a whole bunch of fat dogs. Just a
Yeah.
fat
If
dog.
there's any
problem in
homeless
Charlotte.
dogs,
Bunch
like,
of
they're not
Zion
good.
Williamson's walking around.
Hey.
All right.
That's rude.
Okay. So before we go, this is our scheduled our last show here at ESPN Bet. I think we all assume both sides of this that this is going to continue into 2025. But right now, our last scheduled show for 2024. So before we get to the shows in 2025, we'll be back, I'm assuming, for the playoffs for the Texans game and then in March Madness. But just as this year wraps up, want to give a special thank you to everyone here at the LaBerge and Lake Charles property. Matt, Russ, they've been incredible to us. Taylor, who's no longer working here, she moved on to a new career, but part of the marketing department was great. Jason, now, it's been an absolute pleasure doing this. We've done like 9 shows here or 9 weekends here and trips. It's been a lot of fun this year. So really looking forward to doing it again in 2025, especially now that ESPN Bet is running the sportsbook. It's an even cooler experience now that it's ESPN Bet. So when you leave Texas and bet in your Texas teams, this is absolutely the place to do it. 24-foot video wall, 19 betting kiosks. Chef Lyle always killing it with the food. The food's great. The other restaurants inside the property are absolutely incredible as well. So thank you to LaBerge for all of this. Thank you to the people who work here. That will do it for us for this edition of The Bullpen. I'll be back tomorrow with Gallant and George from noon to 3. Sean's actually going to take a day off and not be here. So The Bullpen will be back next Saturday, I believe, with Cam and Brian. I'll talk to you on Monday. Sean will be back on Tuesday. For all of us and for LaBerge, peace. We'll talk to you soon.